Every time the tunnel widens, there's a new danger waiting for you as you try to make it to the oddly shaped ritual room. Hello fellow gamers and crafters, Tokrak here with a new crafting episode, and today I'm gonna show you how to create diagonal tiles for the modular dungeon tile system, and I'm gonna show you why they are fun and useful. Let's go! The diagonal dungeon tiles for the modular dungeon tile system are very similar to the basic dungeon tiles. So I show you a picture here from the original basic dungeon tiles. I'm also gonna put you a link up in the right corner so you can check out the video. And the diagonal dungeon tiles are basically just cut. But since they're a bit tricky to build once they're all glued together, you cannot easily cut them, so we're gonna build the parts individually, and we're gonna leave out the centerpiece of the 5 cardstock pieces. And here I show you in red where the cut would be going through. So first we need to produce ourselves some XPS pieces that look like this. I show you the dimensions here on the screen. It's 65 by 65 millimeters with a 90-degree angle on one side, and it's 10 millimeter height. And the crafting itself is pretty simple. I use the hot wire cutter to cut my big XPS foam piece into 65 by 65 millimeter columns, and I chop them up further, just because it's easier to work with them in that way. Once I have a block of the appropriate height, I'm just gonna make a diagonal mark for myself, and that's basically where I want to cut later. Then you have to do a little bit of measuring so that you can be sure when you cut your block with the hot wire cutter, you can actually pass it between the guard or the rail that is there to measure the distance and the hot wire, that it neatly fits through. And you should measure that pretty accurate. And I really try to come up with a solution how I can guide my XPS block through the hot wire cutter in this 45-degree angle. But I found the easiest solution was to use the protractor as a guide. And I have to say it worked pretty well. Up to the point where I touched the hot wire. And then just keep cutting until you have as many blocks as you wish. And if you wonder what the books and the little statue do there with a rope hanging from it, that's actually my camera setup. Then set the cutter to 10 millimeters and start cutting off the next parts from the XPS block. And once you have these triangles, this step is done. Be careful, the hot wire cutter always takes away a little bit of material, so in the end you might end up with one piece that do not exactly match the 10 millimeters, and you don't want that. I'm sorry, but this goes for the trash or for some other random project. And this is our raw material to continue crafting. Prepare some 20 by 20 millimeter cardstock pieces. They can be 1.5 or 2 millimeters, depending on the size you can get. Just make sure you use the same thickness in all your crafting projects, and just cut one of them diagonally. Then put a dab of PVA glue into all 3 corners of your XPS. Make sure you use PVA glue, you don't want to add any thickness at this point, and PVA glue takes longer to dry, but it just works best for what we want to do. Put the other XPS piece on top. Make sure everything is nice and flush and nothing protracts from it, and you're good. And for drying, I recommend you put some weight on it. I made myself a little mark for where the grid has to go, and then I'm gonna use the soldering iron just like in my other projects, because I like it to also look consistent. You can just drag it along the lines, which nicely melts away the XPS foam, and then you can give it some extra little marks to make it look more detailed, more rich, and a little bit used. In the next step, we rough up the surface even more by rolling some aluminium foil over it. To paint them, I use the same painting scheme that I used also on my basic tiles. So check out the video on how to paint basic modular dungeon tiles and walls. And it's a mix of Mod Podge, black acrylic paint and some black ink that I used to base coat the tiles. The next step is dry brushing it with a mix of a little bit black, cream and white. And you want to go fairly heavy on the tiles here. Then I add a second dry brushing step, which is almost white with just a little bit of cream to give it the real highlights. And after that, I'm gonna apply a black wash to emphasize all the recesses and little dips and cracks. And here we have our finalized diagonal modular dungeon tile pieces. If you want to connect two of them, I recommend you use a 20 by 20 millimeter cardstock. You can just insert it, put the other one next to it, and they are connected. Of course, you can also use them with the walls that we made in the previous episodes. And the walls just, I can show you, they just nicely fit over this. But one has to be honest, the walls we made so far, they're a bit too short to cover the entire tile. You can account for that by also leaving out the connector. And we connect two of the diagonal bottom pieces. You could, for example, insert one of the short wall pieces, and that would already work. Otherwise, if you think that's not a nice solution for you, I show you something else. You can use, where do I have it? Here. If you have multiple dungeon tiles, you can connect them quite neatly. And let's say you want to make a longer diagonal wall. What you end up with would be something like this. This is now 3 by 3 tiles, so you can see that. And if I take 4 of my wall pieces, and I'm just gonna hang them in between here for demonstration purposes. So if you take 4 wall pieces, they match. So that's kind of it for this episode. Hope you like it. I'm going to show you some pictures now of the things you can build with those, and see you in the end cut. Now you know how to craft the diagonal bases for the modular dungeon tile system. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you see why they're actually pretty fun, because I have a blast building stuff with them, and you can really drive your player nuts with very complicated designs. I have to be honest, the wall pieces that I did so far, they don't match 100%, but it's close enough. You can really do a lot of things there. You can craft like matching wall pieces if you want so, but that's up to you. I don't think I'm gonna do it for now because I'm happy the way it is. That's it for this week, and now it's your turn to craft.